Hello and welcome everyone. In this tutorial I will show how to make realistic looking hedgerow scenery for your terrain and dioramas. I will be covering all steps to get them to this finished result. We will start by making the hedgerow bushes. To make nice looking hedges, there's a wide variety of materials to choose from. What I've chosen to use in this tutorial is perhaps a bit of a strange and less known material, which are these natural loofah sponges. When I came across these at a local garden center, I thought it had an interesting texture to it, so I've picked up a bag and set out to try turning this into some usable terrain scenery. I had never heard of this material before, so I looked it up and then found out it's actually made of some type of dried out cucumber, of all things. I've also read that people use this to wash their hands with, which I found a bit hard to believe in the beginning, because in dry form it's really tough as nails. It wasn't until I tried soaking them in water for about 15 minutes that it all started to make more sense. When soaked in water, you can now get them in a more natural shape to represent some bushes, hedges or other plant life. To prepare them for painting, I'm turning them into these flavorless vegetable kebabs. Once assembled and fully dry, I then gave them a base coat. As the next step, I'll be using this flock box to add a bit of static grass onto them. I will be using this brown static grass, but you could also use green and then spray over this later with a color you prefer. I add some static grass onto the device in preparation for the next step. Meanwhile, the kebabs are given a layer of spray adhesive. Once the power is switched on, I can then carefully hold them above the metal plate situated on top. This will then attract the grass fibers and attach itself on where the glue has been applied. This step is optional, but I find this addition of static grass buffs them up a bit more and provides them with some more texture. Once done, I go over it with more spray adhesive before adding some green blended turf over them. I'm trying not to add too much of this, so to keep some of the texture showing underneath. To highlight the green, I'm adding a sprinkle of yellow grass followed by some mottle leaves. If you're modeling a well-maintained garden, you could use them like this, of course, but just by themselves they tend to look like tumbleweeds really quickly. Perhaps more likely, when you see them in nature, there's usually some sort of root system in place in combination with other plants. I will show you how to install them like this in an upcoming terrain tutorial. As the final but important step, I'm adding a layer of scenery glue over this. This glue will seep through all the scenery and secure everything nicely in place. With the hedges finished, I then start making these small orchard trees. As the base armature for them, I clipped some bits of this natural material. To undercoat them, I gave them thin layers of brown spray paint. Once dry, I follow this up with a mix of green and brown acrylic wash. To make the foliage for them, I'm going to make use of some of these nice products I have displayed here. These were sent to me to use in my terrain building videos by Diorama Precipe, which I probably mispronounced with my sandpaper Dutch accent. They specialize in preserving natural materials to make realistic terrain scenery and dioramas. And if you follow my channel for a while, then you probably know that's exactly what I always like to work with. I have placed a link to their website where you can find these materials in the description of this video. I'm attaching some of this preserved foliage onto the armatures using PVA glue. After assembling them, I thought these could work quite well to represent some small orchard trees. With those completed, I'll then be making a larger type of tree to combine with the rest. As the main armature, I'll be using these dried branches I've picked up at a local garden center. Using a different color of spray paint I used earlier, I then gave them a base coat. I've then added some shadow color using a mix of field drab and black. To give them some highlights, I then applied a dry brush using a lighter color. When this was done, I gave them a wash made with some oil paint and odorless white spirit. To make the foliage on these, I'm going to use my usual go-to product, which is this dried sea foam. The only difference this time is because I use it so often, I decided to try and grow it myself. It took a lot of practice and I made many mistakes, but with a bit of persistence I was finally able to produce a very decent product. All of this I will share with you in a video tutorial very soon. To give them some color, I start by undercoating them using 2 tones of spray paint. This is then followed by a few shadow colors for some color variation. As the next step, I'm adding a layer of diluted PVA glue to the tops of the branches. This is then covered using burnt grass fine turf. Alternatively, you could also use spray adhesive for this step, which is a bit quicker but less precise than using the PVA mixture. After adding another layer of adhesive, I then go over them using these model leaves. I've used olive and medium green to do this. With plenty of the sea foam made, I can then attach it onto the trees. As with the hedges we made earlier, this is then sealed with a layer of scenery glue. As the final step, a few acrylic washes are added to brighten the colors. With everything completed, I combined a few of them on this little terrain piece I've made. I will be using the remaining scenery on a larger diorama that I'm currently building. That brings us to the end of this video. As always, many thanks to my patrons for supporting this channel. I really hope you've enjoyed watching this video and to see you in the next one. Until then, thank you for watching and take care.